Jesus says to put our trust in him, and he won't play head games.
Mm-hmm.
Trust has to be earned, and so far I think he's played a pretty marvelous head game with creating nature and its concrete rules, and then defying them.
What is wrong with a God who created the laws of nature, changing a law of nature, and performing a miracle? What is wrong with that?
That's a head game.
It's a head game?
If he is all-powerful, why can't he operate within the laws that he creates?
Well, he usually does.
Usually.
God has created a world where the law of gravity works 100 times out of 100. Now, if God chooses to change that law in a specific situation, it's not a head game, it's a miracle.
Another question. Why should I trust God over myself, my own judgment, my own right to reason?
Well, obviously, to some extent, you have to trust your own judgment. But you see, the question is, where does your rational mind come from? Does it come from the irrational, from non-reason? Or does your rational mind come from a rational being who gave you that rational mind? And if there's a rational being who gave you your rational mind, then don't worship your rational mind, worship the giver of that gift of a rational mind. Second point, the reason that ultimately I do not trust my rational mind is because I make mistakes. I dabble in the irrational too frequently. That is why, for me to put my faith in my reason ultimately is a very unwise decision. I am always trying to improve my reason to be more rational. But to be honest with you, at times I am wrong. I was wrong this morning about how to get to campus. My wife was right. I was wrong. I was going to take the wrong street. I got confused rationally about the directions to this fine campus. She was right. I was wrong. So to put my faith ultimately in my reason, gosh, no. Put your faith ultimately in the God who gave you your rational mind. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I like the way you think. Keep going.
We're also supposed to exercise judgment.
Yes.
As part of our innate ability to reason.
Absolutely.
And you said earlier that we need to pray for wisdom.
Yes.
Praying ain't doing. You've got to attain wisdom.
Okay. Good. Read hard. Study well. Why pay money to the University of Arizona to hire professors to teach you? Is that laziness? Is that irresponsibility on your part? No.
It's because of value.
Yeah, it's because you need help. I need help to learn how to think better. I have been taught a tremendous amount by people who are far more intelligent than I will ever be. That's why I went to college, and that's why I've read, and that's why I've sat in the classes of a lot of different, very rational people. Now, if there is a God who gave me my mind, if there is a God who created me for a purpose, then I need his help to live a wise life. And so that is why I pray for wisdom. Not to lapse into irresponsibility, not to lapse into shutting my brain down and not thinking. Quite to the contrary, to help me think better.
But what about free will? He
Good.
can't just bestow you with wisdom. He's not necessarily going to light up a path for you. That is all that you can do for yourself.
Very good.
And what value you give to your life is the value that you give to it.
Okay, I agree with you that Christ does not come to wipe out my free will. But what Christ does come to do is to help me want to choose what is good. And then he comes to give me the moral power to do it more effectively. So he doesn't come to wipe, I don't lose my free will when I put my faith in Christ. Instead, my putting my faith in Christ is a request. Christ, help me to want to do that which is good. Because very often, sir, I don't want to do what's good. Have you seen the movie Munich? Steven Spielberg? All right, watch the movie Munich. It's a very sad but very realistic picture of what happened to 11 Israeli athletes in the 1972 Olympics in Munich. They were kidnapped by some Palestinians. When the attempt was made to rescue them, they were all murdered. All right, then what happens is Prime Minister Golda Meir sits with some advisors, and she says, we're going to hire killers. They're going to go under assumed names. They're going to get money under the table. And they're going to go out and they're going to kill the people we think murdered those Israeli athletes. But Golda Meir says something that's fascinating. She says, every civilization at times has to negotiate compromises with its values. Every civilization at times has to negotiate compromises with its values. In other words, Golda Meir, as Prime Minister of Israel, knew full well that it was wrong what she was doing. She knew that she should have those Palestinian suspects arrested, brought to Israel to stand trial before a judge and a jury. Instead, she compromised what she knew was right in order to have some Palestinians slaughtered for the murder of those 11 Israeli athletes at the Munich Games. See, I think we're all like Golda Meir at times. We know what's right, but instead of me doing what I know is right, I do the opposite. I'm a mixed up kid. I got a problem. That's why I need Christ. That's why I need God.
Morality is a set of rules that dictate what you do, right? Or a way that you can live your life.
Should.
So the Ten Commandments are part of those axioms that compose your morality, right?
The Ten Commandments are a reflection of God's character, which is just. And so, yes, I would argue the Ten Commandments are examples of objective morals.
So, what makes those morals unarbitrary?
Those morals come from an eternal thinking mind that is just.
They came from a guy who came down from a mountain.
No, obviously, the claim of Moses is those Ten Commandments come from God.
The claim
Yeah.
from a human.
Right? Now, not only that, you have a conscience. Not only that, every Homo sapien on the planet has a conscience. And when you study anthropology, what you'll notice is how many cultures agree with the Ten Commandments. I don't know of any culture that says murder and adultery and lying and stealing are good.
Living for another doesn't necessarily have to be good also. If we're supposed to love each other and live for each other, where does my happiness come into play with that?
Okay, good question. Where does your happiness come from?
The reward of living out my virtues.
The reward of living out your virtues? Okay, now, if you define it as being virtuous to kill your offspring.
I was hoping you would say that. I was really hoping you would say that.
Good, I'm glad I met your hopes.
Because virtue is not just what you feel like doing compulsively. It's a product of what your rational mind puts together as what should be done logically in a step to achieve happiness. You can't be happy if you can't live. And you can't live if you don't work. And you can't work if you don't accept reality.
Okay, but why is it wrong for you to eat your babies?
I don't have any babies.
If you did. What's wrong with cannibalism? What's wrong with abortion? What's wrong with euthanasia? What's wrong with eugenics? Right? In the United States, at the time of World War II, obviously there were a lot of American scientists involved in eugenics. Okay, so why is abortion, why is eugenics, why is euthanasia wrong? Why?
What's euthanasia again? Is that where you kill
the killing of the elderly?
Dying? Oh, killing the elderly? What if they ask for it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's their life. Shouldn't it be their choice?
Good. If an elderly person asks you to kill them, would you kill them?
If they asked.
If they asked. Okay, I wouldn't. The reason is because I'm convinced that life has an innate value. And just because a person gets depressed and wants me to kill him doesn't mean I'm going to kill him, because I'm convinced They're out of touch with reality. And reality is that life has intrinsic, innate value.
But value comes from fulfilling a function. What function does life fulfill that gives it value? Or is it just because of the sake that life is life that has value?
Okay, that's a great point. Okay, does this guy have value because I give him value? Or does he have value on his own?
He has no value to me.
Okay, good. He has no value to you. So does that mean that he really has no value?
It doesn't matter to me.
Now you're being consistent. I like it. Okay, very good. This guy has no value if you don't give him value.
What about the value that he ascribes to himself?
Well, why is he right and you wrong?
Right about what?
Having value. If you say he has no value and he says, oh no, you're wrong, I've got value, who's right?
It's to the best of my ability that I make my judgments.
Okay? So you make your decisions to the best of your ability, and he makes them to the best of his ability. What makes him right or what makes him wrong?
We can still disagree.
Oh, I know we can all disagree, you bet. And we celebrate the fact that we can respectfully disagree. But what is real? In reality, does this man have intrinsic innate value? Or does his value depend upon his culture, us, saying, you have value?
It depends upon his actions.
Okay, good.
Values are not sociological functions.
Okay. So if he is a pain in the neck, and he's obnoxious and he's a real twit, does that mean he's less valuable than this guy who's a real decent guy?
That's an interesting question.
How about he's Hitler?
Exactly. How about when I work in prisons, I go into PC, protective custody, and I talk with some men who have done some horribly grotesque things to people. Because they've done some horribly grotesque things to people, does that make them less valuable as human beings than you or me?
It doesn't matter to me what their value is.
It doesn't matter to you what their value is. Good. Jesus Christ contradicts you. According to Christ, all human beings have tremendous worth and value because they've been created by God for a purpose. And that purpose is to love and worship God and to love and serve each other.
So if they don't fulfill that purpose, does that make them not valuable?
Absolutely not.